in the way that it affected us. And I think that is a good thing to think about and document, and could be a good touch for people as you're communicating with others that you're reaching out. Ask them the question, what has been a surprise to you? What's been the hardest for you? What are some of your thoughts? What do you want to document? And it's a good way to help other people kind of share their feelings, and you share yours as well. Is there anything that stands out?
Well, there's one thing that I really noticed that I get a lot of joy out of sharing, and I'm a baker and I cook a lot. So it's like I share a lot of baked goods and cooked goods with people. And it's like, I can't do that right now. That's one part so I started to think about creative ways of giving that's a little different, because, it's hard to touch things. You really shouldn't be knocking on people's doors. So I've just paid a lot of attention to, okay, Karen, what can you do to keep giving and keep your mind, on positive things? But the other day when I walked into my apartment, some grandkids had written in chalk all over the sidewalk to their grandma, and had written notes to her, and really, really fun stuff. And so, there's just little fun things. I thought that was really thoughtful and a really neat thing to do. And so there's just little things that if we get creative, we can do to kind of step out of the box and do things that aren't as traditional as what we would usually do to give and to serve and to get us back into semi-socially communicating.
Yeah.
More Zoom calls, more FaceTiming, but take the time to do that.
Yeah. I love that. Thanks for sharing. Who else? What's something else? I know, Brian, I loved what Chandy wrote on the board in your garage. I think it was in your garage or something. That what are you grateful for because of Corona, or something like that? Are you in a place where you can unmute and share? Be heard in Utah? So his wife posted.
Okay, sorry, I'm here.
There you are.
Well, here's what it was, guys. So first off, my wife is awesome. If anybody knows my wife, we took a DISC personality test, and she's the exact opposite of me of every category, which is why we're such a great couple. And she basically just, on Sunday, at the beginning of every month, she has this board that she fills different stuff out. And on the top part of the board is like stuff we have going on, like activities with the family, which usually the thing is jam-packed, right? It's like soccer tournament, soccer practice, swimming practice, plays. And, that's opened up a little bit over the last couple of weeks. And then the middle part, she always puts like some kind of quote. And then the bottom part, she puts like a question or some kind of like participant family thing. And her question is like, what are good things that have happened in your life because of the CV-19 or whatever, COVID-19? And we just had a family discussion around it, and it was like really awesome.
What were your kids' reaction to it? What did they say?
Well, I think what's cool is like they're not scared. Like they're feeling the impact of this. They don't like staying inside all the time, and not seeing their friends at school. And they're not like loving it in certain aspects, but on the flip note, it's like what they're getting to see is they're getting to see that there's lots of good things, right? Like we're spending more time together as a family.
Yeah.
Ben? So it's like, I don't know. That to me is like, it's been really powerful because like we as adults process it one way and our kids are processing it a totally different way. And in lieu of us not facilitating a conversation, it's like letting their minds wander and create a story around it, right? Like, and bad stories potentially too, right? Like them thinking like everyone's going to die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's like it's just kids kids and adults, like, we have different functions of our brains, and even adults like lose their minds, you know. But I mean, it's really important to like, give kids a space to talk about it. And you know, like one of the things they said is they were like, well, are we going to be able to go on our summer, you know, trip with the youth group this summer, because we have this trip planned to Moab? And I said, you know, I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to do that, but you know, if not, we'll like figure something else out, you know. But like, that was a concern, you know. And then he talked about how he thinks he should be able to play Dungeons and Dragons more and stay up later.
I feel like he should too, honestly.
Yeah, I know.
Can't take
That's why we
everything
didn't
away.
involve you in the conversation, Emily. That's why we kept you out.
Yes.
I said, look, we're going to talk about Joseph Stalin tonight, and I'm going to tell you some rules we got around the house.
You think this is bad?
Yeah. I was like, okay, let's do a quick flashback to Russia. Just kidding. Anyway.
Well, these are good conversations to have with people as we're reaching out and genuinely like interacting with them and communicating with them and seeing how it's affecting their families. And I think the more that we all chat about it, the more that we really feel that we're in this together, and we're all going through the same thing, which is so strange at the same time. So yeah, thanks for sharing. So
hey, Em, I just gonna share this last thing.
Yeah.
There's a saying that says that which is most personal is most universal. And I find that to be extremely true.
Yeah.
So when you're in your little dark corner in your house, going through whatever you're going through, thinking you're the only person, you're probably not, you know?
It's very, very true. Very true. Okay, Brock, hit us with some knowledge. What you got?
Cool. What's up, everybody? I hope we're all well. I'm having my own struggles like you all. I'm like sick and tired of sitting in a home office, being alone all day. But updates on the lending side. So rates are super good. They've come back down. We're sitting, I would say, just generally across most or all product types, we're between 3 and 3.5%. So I think, you know, if buyers are still out there and willing to take the leap, it's a really good time. And you know, affordability is through the roof, you know, with these rates. So I think that's really good. One thing that is kind of top of the news waves is the forbearance of mortgage payments. And I think it's important that we all know that there's a lot that will come out of this, and the banks will be digesting this and creating their own policies around this. But the most important thing to us as the professionals, because I'm sure many of our clients will be resorting to calling us as opposed to the bank for multiple reasons, part of which is because the banks are like 3 or 4 hour hold times. So they're going to be reaching out to us for answers on what this means. And the biggest concern, I think, is that this is a forbearance, which means that the payments will be due at some point. Does that mean they're tacked onto the end of the loan, or does that mean that they are due in 90 days? You know, so if they don't make 3 payments, then in 90 days they owe 4 full payments. There could be some risk in people just skipping payments for the sake of skipping payments, because it is not a forgiveness of the mortgage payment. So I think as professionals, we need to be aware of that. And when our clients ask, certainly don't encourage, if they don't need it, don't encourage them to skip the payments, because they could be in a world of hurt financially down the road. And frankly, the more payments that aren't made, the worse it is for the banking system as a whole and our industry as a whole. So,
well, and maybe if they can't make their payment right now, it might be good to have the conversation about refinancing, and because then they don't make their payment for at least a month, maybe 2 months, and the potential of maybe pulling out some money if they're in a situation that could be unknown or unsure in the next little bit, versus just don't pay your payment.
Yeah, correct. For sure. Yep. I think that's a great alternative. Obviously we're doing a ton of refis, but people with a good rate already, you know, rate in the 3s, can benefit from a refi by doing cash out. I mean, people getting the same rate on their mortgage, like Emily said, we can skip a payment or 2. So that provides some immediate relief or a stockpile of cash in case something were to happen. And beyond that, consolidating the debts, even if you just get the same mortgage rate that you had prior, is going to shave hundreds or in some cases thousands out of the monthly budget per month. So I think it's something we should for sure be talking to our clients about with the opportunity where rates are at. It's a big, huge opportunity to save, but the big thing is they need to be proactive about it, which is something that I hope we're all being more cognizant about, is, you know, discovering how much more proactive in life we need to be. Like for me, when we had the earthquakes amongst the COVID-19, we don't have a ton of food storage. So I'm like in panic mode, and I'm kind of like disappointed in myself for not having that. But this goes along that line. People need to do it before they need the help, because they have to be employed to get a loan. So people can't wait until they lose their job to actually take advantage of the opportunity in our midst, you know?
Yeah, and they're good, real conversations to have, and that helps them to understand. I mean, should they sell their house? Should they refinance their house? Should they buy a house? Or just using our lender partners is important to help navigate what the best course of action is going to be for them.
Yeah, and I think we can often have very different conversations than you guys have with the clients that may lead to a listing or may lead to a listing and a buyer, or may very well mean that they're going to refi, whatever the case is. But often the dynamic is much different between a lender and a realtor. So getting them in contact with a lending partner is crucial, I think.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Cool.
Does anybody have any questions for Brock? Okay, they're here for us, the three of them. Like, they've been posting a lot of great content and stuff on our page, so watch out for those. Thanks for all you do for us. Appreciate it tons.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so this kind of goes along with the virtual agent. So next week, next Tuesday, we are going to dedicate the whole team meeting to all the virtual options that you have out there for real estate. So virtual open houses, virtual showings, how you can transition into the virtual agent. That's what our topic is next week. And the Matterport videos are a way of doing that. And so I've been getting a lot of questions about that. So please let me know if you need more information. We did, my husband and I, well, let's be real, Tim 100% did it, but a listing that did a Matterport on, and it sold first person that came through, and they had already seen. So it does make a difference for people to feel like they can really see it and understand the space. People have a hard time visualizing space. That pictures can't always show space. So right now, where people are unsure if they want to be going through homes, it's important to see how we can make things as virtual as possible, and also a comfort level for our sellers of not wanting people to be in their home, or at least minimize it as much as possible. We're going to be focusing on some of the tools that we have. So if you know of something and you have something that you've heard of or you would like more information about, will you please let me know so we can explore that a little bit more and get the info to everybody? Yeah? Okay. And this is just a little, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this graph before. This is the time right now to adopt. The course of action that we take at this moment will determine where we're going to be on the other side of all of this. And so with everything, right? Your personal finances, your business, with everything. So we've got to be in that 2.5% innovators. We can't wait until we're further down the road, right? We've got to be right in and ready to adapt this moment. And this is how we're gonna do it. Okay, and if you can mute your stuff, there we go. Okay, all right, and then we're gonna have a big focus on the stuff that KWRI is doing. We're gonna just have lots of opportunity for you to learn and grow, and also just make sure that you have the links to everything. So Kimber's done a really good job at getting this information out. If you have questions about any of these things, different training opportunities, let us know. Or if there's something that you want that you think would be impactful for you and your business, we want to add them. But if you look at this list, and you may not be familiar with all these people, but we've got incredible people on these. They give us the list of what's coming down on Sunday, the Sunday before the week. So we can't give you a lot of notice, but a lot of these teachers are consistent. So for example, Jason Abrams and Brian Gubernick and Jay Papazan, they've been on several of them. Tim Heil, we haven't seen him for a little bit. He's awesome. He has an amazing business. Dick Dillingham. I mean, every single one of these instructors on here are top, best of the best of the best across the nation. So it would be a really good thing to tune into. They're short, they're under an hour, just depending on what your need is at the moment. They have it broken down into different topics. So I just encourage you to look into that. They also record them so you can get into it if you go into your, I'll come back to that, Kimber. If you go to this KW Connect pivot page right here, you can get into the recordings from before. And if there's something that you missed, like Jason Abrams is doing a Shift Book Club right at this moment at 11 o'clock. So you want to go back and look at that one as well. Does anybody have any questions about this?
Could you go back to that link or post it in the chat so I can write it down?
This one?
Yes.
Tell me when you're ready. You got it.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so Kimber, give us a super quick overview of what this is all about. Please.
Okay, so we have to just, adjust as things happen and as changes are made with our lives and what we're doing. So for April, this is how we're training on command. So we're having 2 days a week, super specific on a subject that we're covering. So if you've never done any of these or you want a refresher, log in during those times and those days. But if not, if it's just like a general question, just know we still have our open command support on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as well. But this is also designed that if you haven't been in it yet, if you start out on April 7th and go to the end of the month every Tuesday and Thursday, you really should be familiar on most of the big things that command has. So it's a good thing to plug into if you've been wanting to prioritize some of this stuff and maybe get your business moved over to command because you might be trying to get rid of a subscription. That's been a common one this last couple of weeks with people I've been meeting with. So we'll send out like the Zoom link. It's going to be the same link for every class. That's what we're doing for April.
It's gonna be good, and we'll have different instructors. Most of them will be Kimber, but we'll bring people in too to go through some stuff. So again, if there's something that you want to see that you need help with, let us know because we want to do this. We want to help you. Okay, and then I just wanted to remind you of this Facebook page, the pivot page. Are you guys? Has anybody kind of interacted with that and is watching what's going on? Okay, well, you should. There's a lot of really, really good stuff on there. It's broker agnostic, I would say. So anybody from any company can be on it. It's something to help everyone. Lots of good tips and tricks and things like that. Also, as I was saying last week, is we're behind some of the other areas. So it's nice to see what's going on in some of these other places. We're really lucky here, which brings me to the next thing. We're really lucky in Utah. What has come down in terms of what to do our business. So with that, I just wanted to point out a couple of things like right here. Can you see my cursor right here? Where it says professional services such as legal or accounting services, insurance services, real estate services, including appraisal, home inspection and title services, and veterinary services. These services shall, to the greatest extent possible, use technology to avoid meeting in person, including virtual meetings, teleconference, and remote work. When showing homes to prospective clients, real estate agents must refrain from traveling in the same vehicle as the client. Prospective home buyer and real estate professionals shall further adhere to the rules provided by the National Association of Realtors. So we can show homes, we can go through homes. People ask me a lot about open houses and stuff like that. We can do it. We just have, first, you need to be comfortable doing it. If it's something you're not comfortable with, that's up to you, and that's understandable. If you are comfortable, what you need to make sure of is that you are not allowing more than one small group coming through the property at a time. That you're keeping your distance, that everything is wiped down. I mean, I think it's okay if you're not even in the house when people are in the house. Just let somebody go through. It's getting nice outside, go outside. Wear gloves, require people wear gloves, require people, you know, take their shoes off or maybe keep their shoes on. I don't know, whatever is going to make you feel the safest and most protected, and that your clients feel the most protected and safe. Does anybody have any questions about this? One thing that's come up is door knocking. Door knocking specifically has been, it's in a different communication piece that came out, but door knocking specifically is not allowed. So I don't know if there's debate, can we go and drop something off at the door or not? It just depends on what you're comfortable with. I would say people are not feeling it right now. They don't want anyone coming to their door at this moment. Does anybody have any thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say something, and this is kind of back on that Pivot Facebook group too, but if you guys go in the files section, some of the people like Wendy Papazan, she put a thing in there about doing watch parties and whatnot instead of doing open houses, and there were some really cool ideas. So putting those two together, I think would be really valuable.
Yep, awesome, thanks. Okay, then this next one here that came from, they've done such a good job on the Salt Lake board. Curtis Bullock, he's the CEO, and he's really trying hard to keep us informed. If you're not a part of that Facebook group, you need to be, because he is really taking everything and working hard at translating it to how it affects us personally. And so they're going to continue to give us more information, but there is, if you look at this, the last two paragraphs here, it talks about the benefits that could be to real estate agents, right? So it says that we could get up to $600 a week for 4 months as independent contractors, and specifically real estate agents can, because of the slowdown potential with this virus. And so just really, really watch carefully. If you have an employee, somebody that you're paying as part of your business, you can get some real help and some real assistance. So if you have somebody that you pay, I have a group with a top 10% where most of them do have somebody that they pay, where we're going to be going over that in detail. But if you do have someone that you're paying as a part of your business, like an employee, some sort of an hourly or salary, let me know. I want to make sure to connect you in the best way. That those funds are limited. So we've got to really push hard and get them as quickly as possible. Does anybody have any questions about this? It's good stuff, yeah? Again, we can help you with Zoom. I've helped a few people this week, but if you need some help in setting up and organizing a Zoom meeting, anyone on the staff can help you. We can do a Zoom meeting to teach you how to do a Zoom meeting. They're really simple once you learn how to navigate it, and people are loving it. It's working out really well for people. Has anybody started adopting it yet? Yeah, Tom, you've done some meetings?
Yeah, just with individual buyers, and then I'm using it for my gym too. So.
Oh, cool.
I had to learn it real quick. It's not very hard. So
you're doing like at-home workouts or whatever?
Yeah, every day at 10 a.m. I'll post the link if anyone wants to join in my workout. So it's about a 40-minute workout.
That's way cool. Yes, please do. That's awesome.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes, please. You have to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question, though.
Yeah, we had two computers and the audio was feeding back. Sorry.
Oh, hi, you're good.
Real quick, with the Zoom, do we have a company Zoom or is it, because I noticed if you use it for 3 people, at 40 minutes, it cuts you off.
Yep, so you have to, we do have some company ones, but they're used so much that you can't use it at the same time. So
Okay.
we can't, it would be really hard. We thought about that. It would be hard for us to be able to track who is using it at what time. But if you do there's a $15 fee for the one where you could do 100 people and it's unlimited time.
Oh, is there? Oh,
Charge. There's an option that you can do a $15 a month subscription where you can have more time.
oh, okay. I didn't see that one. I did look, but I guess I just didn't see it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, everybody. I'm trying to keep everyone safe. So as you know, our staff we have a lot of interaction with people and agents, and Amy has bad asthma, and so I'm trying to keep her safe and everything. So thank you for taking the earnest money to her house and just putting it under the mat and not shaking her hand and giving her a hug. Okay. Amy, are you on? I know she was having troubles getting on the link. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. Okay. Yeah. What do you want to remind us?
I just wanted to remind everyone, first I want to thank everybody because you guys have been so awesome and things are going really smooth and on my side, and I feel like everyone's getting paid the same. I haven't had any hiccups. One thing that could help me, I just want to remind you all to have your escrow officer reach out to me before closing. So all of the commission checks are coming to me directly. So if they go to the brokerage, it's causing some extra time to have them run out to me. So if you guys can just make sure to have your escrow officer reach out to me so that I can arrange to get those checks delivered directly to me, that'll just help keep things going really smooth and getting you guys paid just as fast as possible. That's all for me. Just thanks, everybody.
We're keeping the glass doors closed at the front of the office, but Carrie is still there in the office. We're just trying to mitigate personal closeness at all. So if you can just let people know that also Carrie runs errands and stuff for things that we need. So we can't guarantee that there's physically going to be somebody there from 8:30 to 5:30 in the office, right? So our communication has to be better than ever. So if you can let us know if you've got an issue or problem. I'm super close by if you need me to help, whatever we can do, okay? Thanks. All right, so thank you so much, Molly, for coming and helping us from the MLS.
Of course.
Some stuff. It's really important that we are giving our clients just the most up-to-date information, and the MLS does an amazing job at gathering data. And I don't think and it probably is a personality thing that a lot of us aren't super detailed in that way of finding out and gathering specific information that can help people. And so we just love to hear it from the MLS. She's going to show us how we can do better.
Exactly. It's I'm one of those nerds that is very passionate about statistics. So I love looking at this stuff, and it's been really interesting to see how a market that had very few changes over the last 5+ years is changing every single day at this point. And so I think that's why we're seeing such a big demand right now for statistics information, because your clients want to know about this. They're asking these questions. They want to know what the market is doing. And so these tools will help you to back up what you have to say with numbers and with facts. So let me share my screen here. We're looking now at the MLS. Just a couple of things I want to mention before we dive into the statistics tools. We do have a COVID-19 website where we have posted some statistics that I would invite you to look at when you have some spare time. We are going to be expanding those stats to potentially include information that you wouldn't even be able to find in your own statistics searches. So that's something that the team is working on pulling right now. So watch that website over the next week or so for updates to the statistics available there. The other thing I want to mention is that we are keeping our exact same hours. We are still available Monday to Friday, 8 to 5:30, and our entire support team is still there for you. So you can still reach us by phone, email, and live chat just like you would at any other time. They are, of course, working from home. So safety is still a number one priority, but we do have that availability for you still. So I want to start by focusing on the daily snapshot report. I have felt for a very long time that this is an extremely important report. I think it's more important today than it has ever been. The daily snapshot report is the ability to see how statuses that come and go so much over the life of a listing, active, under contract, backup, these are not permanent statuses. They don't last very long. And they do come and go and get turned on and off and switch back and forth. And so the daily snapshot report is pretty much the only place to see information captured. You do have to ask them. So fluid that you have to look at them as a function of what's happening over a certain period of time in order to get a good picture. So we're going to focus on the daily snapshot report because I do think it will bring you the most value today. I'll also mention that today is March 31st, which means tomorrow our quarterly reports like the home sales graph will be updated with first quarter information, and this will become really important as well. So I will show you how to pull the home sales graph so that you can pull it tomorrow and actually see that new and refreshed information when the first quarter data comes in. Now, we do have a market statistics widget over here on your dashboard. If you do not see this, it is likely below your other widgets. You can collapse these and look for it. It could also be under the Manage Widgets section. I happen to really like the statistics widget. It's a really easy way to see a month's worth of activity. I will say the one downside to this particular tool is that it doesn't show you right off the bat a quick comparison with the same market at a different time. For instance, this is showing me March 2nd through March 31st of this year. I would love to see this information compared with March 2nd and March 31st through March 31st of 2019. So it is kind of just a way to keep a small, quick glance on how the market is changing over time. So if you prioritize this widget like I have, you can rearrange these as you can see and add it from the Manage Widget section. If you prioritize it the way that I have, every time you open the MLS, you're going to see the statistics tool and you can quickly get a feel for how that's changing over time. Let me go now to the daily snapshot report. So as I mentioned, most statistics are going to show you sold information or information about a permanent status. It's so much easier to pull stats on something permanent. Because active, backup, under contract, withdrawn, and off market come and go so much, we want to look at these as something that's happening over time. So the default setting here, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but when I first saw this statistics tool, I thought this was the only setting, and it wasn't a very powerful tool to me because it starts us with just one date. Today's date, March 31st, 2020, and the same date last year. So we get a nice glimpse at the difference between backup and under contract status this year versus, the same date last year. As you can see, there's a big decrease in actives this year over last year. But when this tool really becomes valuable is when you switch from a single date to a date range. So I have already pulled in different tabs, which I use new tab all the time when I'm pulling statistics. I have already pulled Salt Lake County daily snapshot report for March 1st through March 31st. And you can see here my search criteria is Salt Lake County. If you scroll down, that's where you can update or listings have actually this year in a way that they didn't do in the same month last year. So last year, active listings were pretty steady every single day. Obviously, there's variation day to day, but the overall trend was pretty flat. And this year, we're definitely seeing an increase in active status, and that could be an influence of a number of different things. I would argue that at least one big factor is that under contract, a lot of under contract listings have moved out of the under contract status and gone back to active. I don't yet have the numbers to back that up. That's one of those queries that our development team will have to poll themselves, but they are working on it, and I do hope that it will become available in our COVID-19 website in the not too distant future. That said, let's move on to another status. Backup, this is not really unique to this year. Backup has been steadily increasing every single year because it's a new status. So as you can see, the trends are very similar between this year in blue and last year in black. And of course, backup is significantly higher this year than last. And that's been true for the last, I think it's been around for 3 or 4 years. So nothing too significant under backup, unfortunately, because we might otherwise see a different that.
Is it just me or is the connection not great, Molly? Is it mine?
No, it's mine too.
Is it?
Yeah, not on mine.
Mine too.
Molly, you keep like breaking and stopping. In fact, we don't have you at all.
Okay, so it's probably my.
There you are. Yeah, it's kind of going in and out. And you're out right now.
Okay. I don't. Router as we speak. That's being. Can you guys follow what I'm saying and what we're talking about?
I think let's just do our best.
Okay. So under contract listings last year, as we would expect, had increased during the month of March, pretty significantly actually. When the month started, under contract listings were hovering at almost 2,000. By the time the month ended, they were well over 2,000 at that point. So about a 300 listing difference in under contracts last year. This year, although we were originally following a very similar trend of a steady increase in under contract listings, you can see that we've obviously tapered off. However, we're not below where we started. While we would normally hope that our under contract listings just steadily increased at this time of year, right here in the spring, that has not happened, but we haven't dropped below where we were at the beginning of the month. So I do think that's pretty interesting and pretty important. We haven't seen the kind of drop off that while it puts us in a different place for the time of year, we're certainly not diving down into totally uncharted territory. We can also, of course, see withdrawn listings. The general trend last year was trending down in withdrawns, whereas this year there's a small, very, very slight trend upward. And then you also have off market. This could be the change in how our markets are doing. This could also just be the fact that we have a brand new rule that came into effect February 1st. And that rule, of course, is the NAR's clear cooperation policy. So it's hard to say what is being the big influencer here. Maybe it's both, maybe it's one more than the other. It's hard to say, but those are the numbers that we can see. If we go to the other tab that I've opened here, this is from February 1st. So this is giving us a slightly longer look. So as we can see, actives were performing basically at the same level for 2 straight months, and now they've increased, whereas last year we didn't really see an increase at this time in active listings. So that's definitely different. And then there's our under contracts again. Nothing very new to see here, except that this is the first time we're breaking from the trend in at least 2 months as far as last year's trending. So I do want to point out that every single one of our statistics reports can be emailed and they can be printed. Even more importantly, in my opinion, is the fact that you can export this data. I am a huge fan of Excel. I'm going to have a much easier time working with numbers in an Excel spreadsheet than I am inside of the MLS. And so I'm always using this export function. In fact, I was trying to pull my own stats for this very class, and I didn't get very far, unfortunately, in what I was potentially looking for. But you can also export listings to Excel. And this is done through a regular search, and then there is a report called the export report. So you can actually export your own listing details and try to do your own search for statistics as well, if that's of any interest to you. Let's look at the quarterly comparison report. Now, normally this report, I typically look at it and kind of dissect it in quarters. However, this report actually will show me numbers by a year-to-date time range, which I really like. So let me pull in Salt Lake County data again, so we stay consistent. I'm really sorry about the connection, you guys. I've been looking at my internet, hoping it will improve, but I don't really see much of an improvement.
You're on a good streak right now. It's a little
good. Okay, good. That's what matters. So this particular report will actually pull an Excel spreadsheet for us. So this report doesn't get viewed at all inside of the MLS. It is restricted to an Excel spreadsheet. There we go. Now I have to enable editing first. And I'm going to zoom in so we can all see a little bit better. But along the bottom, I don't know if my little zoom tool will work here, if you can see this, but I can look at quarters, which again, tomorrow, pull some stats on your own, do your own searches for statistics information, and learn a little bit more about the first quarter as a whole, because we'll have that data available come the 1st of April. You can see that it's broken down into quarters, but then I also have an annual number. This won't be particularly helpful with what we're aiming to do right now, which is find out what's going on in the market today. But this year-to-date option should be very helpful. So I'm going to open the year-to-date page and zoom in a little so we can, well, not that much, so we can all see these numbers a little bit better. But what I'm looking at is the Salt Lake County statistics for residential real estate from the 1st of this year to today's date, which is March 31st. So this is essentially what we would see if we were to pull the first quarter information tomorrow. So what I'm looking at here, this very first option is cumulative days on market. We are actually down still. This is very interesting to me. Now, of course, the time that our markets have been affected by this COVID-19 crisis is a lesser amount of time than the full time frame that we're looking at. So it is possible that these last few weeks just haven't had a market effect yet on the time frame that we're looking at. But of course, with more time, we'll see more information. You could pull this report every day and see slight changes. So in 2017, the median in Salt Lake County was 20 days. The following year at this same time frame, it was 20 days again. In 2019, it was higher at 30 days. So that was a 50% increase from the year before. And now we are still higher in our CDOMs in 2017 and 2018, but a little less significantly than last year, which is pretty interesting to see. We have number of listings sold. This is down, but only by a hair. That's only a 3% change from last year. Median sold price is still up 11.44%, so it's still a big increase there. And again, we'll start to see more information as that rolls out, how our market is doing. I want to point anything out, new list in a couple of weeks, but for now, it's not a very significant drop as of yet. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to show you before we wrap up is this market summary report. And the reason I wanted to show this to you is because this particular report will allow me to get very flexible with my time frame. So just like the daily snapshot report, I can get very specific with how much time I'm searching. Now, unlike every other search page in the MLS, this market summary report search is the only search page that will search all 24 plus years of MLS history. I don't know why. I have asked and I haven't really gotten a very clear answer. So keep that in mind. For that reason, I recommend strongly that you use number of days back. I would also extend that to keeping the information as relevant as possible, even to just the last couple of weeks. So we could go back maybe 30 days. And I just want to look for now at active, under contract, and sold. We're going to be looking at listings by $50,000 increments. So let's go ahead and view our results. We may end up with so many lines after about, $900,000 that it gets a little bit difficult to look at. Okay, it's not too bad. So let's go down to sold. The reason I like this so much, in the last 30 days, this is showing me kind of an overall snapshot. Is price points. Only place unless times to compare different differentiate one word out for me. So then I get to see the majority of listings where they fall in their price points. So in this particular 30 days that we're looking at in Salt Lake County, the majority of listings were listed between 300 and 350,000, which is of course verified by the median price here. But next to this, I can also see how the market is affected by the price. So our lowest days on market was for properties between $150,000 and $200,000. There were 23 properties in that range, and their median CDOM was only 4 days. 200 to 250 was only 6 days. 200 to 250, this is still in a price range that is often cash buyers, investor buyers. But when we move on to 250 to 3, this starts to become a little more of your first-time home buyers, if you will. They're kind of in both of these ranges. So then we jump to 11 days, which is still an extremely short amount of time, as well as your 3 to 350 range and 350 to 4 range is just 10 days and just 14 days. So we're still moving inventory quickly. Remember, we're only looking at the last 30 days in Salt Lake County. Inventory is still moving very, very fast, which is interesting to see. If we look at our under contracts, we will probably see some pretty similar numbers. This is very interesting to me, even lower in just about every price point for our under contract listings. So the last 30 days for listings that are under contract in our biggest group of listings, which are priced between 3 and 350, CDOM is 5 days. So that's pretty interesting to see as well. Under contract is always much higher because that's going to include listings that have sat and sat and sat and sat and haven't actually moved yet. Even still, I see nothing above 20 days until you reach the 950 range. So inventory has moved really fast in the last 30 days. Certainly we could modify our search, which is what I want to encourage all of you to do when you pull these statistics tools on your own. So just to reiterate, we have looked at the daily snapshot report, which is the big focus I want you to take away from this little training that we had today. The daily snapshot report will be your best way to watch this market. So pay attention to that. Don't forget to search for a date range under the daily snapshot report. Quarterly comparison gives us great access to a year-to-date time frame that we can look at. And the market summary, which is what we're looking at, is also another place to get really specific with our time frame. So modify your searches by just looking for properties that apply to the kind of business that you're doing or the client that you're working with. If they're looking in a particular neighborhood or a single zip code, or they're only interested in townhomes, or they're only interested in a certain price point, which almost every buyer is quite specific about their price point. So enter that information in your search and make it as relevant as you can to the client. And then, of course, I would also recommend a short time frame with how much our market is changing. I don't normally recommend that because you want a lot of data when you're pulling stats. But because our market is changing every single day, I definitely recommend a short time frame when you're doing your own searches. Finally, just one last mention that from the homepage of the MLS, you can go to our COVID-19 website where we do have statistics. Very soon, you should be able to see some stats here that you wouldn't even be able to pull on your own. Questions or comments, you guys?
I mean, there's some facts to show that you showed us, Molly, like the days on market and things like that. I mean, that is information that we can use to help people decide what they want to do and the next step. So if they're not sure about their employment, they're not sure about whatever, and if moving is something that's going to help them in their situation, or buying a home is going to help them in their situation, just having those facts, it's not your opinion anymore, right? Numbers are
exactly.
It's neutral. It's for everybody. It's something that anybody can grab onto. So the more familiar you can be with finding the information to show that you're the expert, the more people will rely on you, trust you, and be armed to make the right decision for themselves. Because we can only look at history to try and predict the future, where things are so uncertain right now. It's really the only sure thing that we have in terms of knowing what could possibly happen, right? Does anybody have any questions for Molly? Is there a certain type of report or information that you would like to see?
Hey, what about the absorption rate?
That's a great question. So absorption rate is tricky for this reason. The earliest data available in the absorption report inside of the MLS is 2 months. And so that's kind of the reason I didn't focus on it for this particular training. So if I show you,
it lags too much, like it's not going to be able to be accurate, like the more real-time stuff is the stuff you showed us, right?
That's exactly right. Yep. So this one has a little bit of a lag in the information that gets considered. So if we look at our results in the absorption report, so this is the first one that you'll find under your statistics tools. And I think I kept, this is all of Utah. Let me go back and make sure we are just searching Salt Lake County so we keep things consistent. And of course, don't feel like you have to limit your searches to the same kinds of parameters that I searched in. Okay, so as you can see here, the absorption report, first of all, it's poorly presented. It's a really easy, not a very complicated statistic, but it's presented in such a way that it's very confusing to read on your own. So I will just point out that we're really here for this inventory line. And the inventory line is telling us that if we continue to sell as quickly as we've sold, for instance, in the last 2 months, or the last 6 months, or the last 12 months, we will sell out of the active backup and under contract properties we have available today in 3.39 months. So it's a confusing report. Unfortunately, because it is a really important piece of information, the only thing that right now I find a little unfortunate is just the fact that I am stuck with this 2-month time frame. When I'm considering how we might sell what's available today, I'm forced, for lack of a better term, to consider how we've sold over the last 2 months, rather than, you know what, this has been our rate over the last 30 days, or this has been our rate over the last 15 days. So I would love to see some flexibility come to this. It's not something that I am aware of being in the works, but I will certainly be taking that back to the team because I do think it's an important stat. The other thing I want to point out is that 6 months is typically considered a balanced market. You have about the same number of buyers and sellers. Anything below 6 months is still considered a seller's market. I can't say it will look like this in 2 months, but I can say that when we consider how quickly we've sold properties in the last 2 months, that with what we have available today, we're looking at, 3.5 months of inventory or so. Other questions or comments?
Can I ask a question about days on market?
Yes, of course.
So on the days on market, I just want to make sure that I understand it correctly versus the consecutive days on market. So
yes,
if you put a property under contract, say it's under contract for 30 days, and then it goes back into active status, is your days on market going to put in that 30 days now, or is it only at the days that it's been in active status?
That's a great question. So days on market and cumulative days on market, both of those will not count under contract days. So it's only going to count those days that the listing is being actively marketed, which right now is active status and backup status. That's what's considered active marketing. And so the difference between days on market and cumulative days on market is that days on market is tied to the MLS number. So the reason that you'll sometimes see a different CDOM versus DOM is that the listing actually changed representation, or well, that's basically the only situation that you're going to find that they got the same property got a new listing ID. That's when DOM would but CDOM would continue. Both of them are going to eliminate.
We're losing you, Molly.
Connection is unstable. Okay.
Okay, so it looks like you're back. So just to reiterate, so if you do put something into backup status, it's still counting as days on market. So
that's right. Yep. So even though it's under contract, backup means that you're continuing to actively market it. So it's an under contract property that would still accept showings, for instance, and would still accept someone, you're basically still generating interest in the property. So active and backup status are what would be considered, or what would count days on market.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You had the ability to go in and them. Did we have questions in there that I needed to answer?
There was, Joel Meza was wondering if you could do a market summary for the last 90 days in Salt Lake County, just to make sure that he was doing it right. If you can just quickly show that before if you guys.
Yes, of course. So the main thing, so if we go to the market summary report, then I would start by clearing your criteria just to make sure we're all starting on the same page. Now, the number of days back is where you're going to limit your time frame. So I would put 90 days in the number of days back field. And then I would make sure to also put Salt Lake County in your county field. So at this point, I am searching for every listing in the last 90 days, every status, unless I deselect those. Now, I wasn't interested in looking at, expired and canceled. And those just kind of make for a longer report if you're not interested in looking at those. So I deselected those, but certainly you don't need to do that. The other thing I'll recommend is changing your price increments if you are specifically focusing on higher priced homes. If I wanted to look at properties grouped by price point and those properties were listed over $1 million, $50,000 increments would start to get really hectic. So I would increase your price increments if you're looking at a higher price point. Otherwise, stick with that 50,000. You should be in great shape to go and look at your results at that point.
Super helpful. Thanks.
Excellent. Well, if there's
final questions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So I just posted a message, but we are recording this, and we'll send it out if you guys want to look at it again and have access to it. But thanks so much, Molly. Another thing I want to quickly to say is they are so helpful. If you need to, if there's something specific that you're looking for that you can't figure out, if you go onto the help, do you want to show them where the help
yes
thing is up at the top? I've used it many times and they're very responsive and helpful.
Yep. So you can go to contact us. This is the same group of 5, I think, support team members that we have, some of whom have been with the MLS for 20 years, literally. So they definitely know what they're talking about. They're extremely responsive, just like Emily was saying. So phone, email, live chat is a great way to reach us. So you can just chat with us here. And then, of course, we also have a support center, which is articles and videos that you can review. Speaking of the support center, one of my favorite articles is called Guide to the Statistical Reports.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. You showed that last time and I've used it several times since you've shown that.
Exactly. So this is one more time under the support center. You get there from the same tab, the help tab. And this will show you what every report can search for. Some reports are limited, for instance, to only residential information. Some reports are limited in the years that you can search. And then there's also this explanation of what you might use this report to look for. So this is a great reference, especially if, you know, it's off hours or something like that.
Awesome.
Well, guys, just like the support team, I'm here as well. You can reach me really easily. My email's just Molly, MOLLY @utahrealestate.com. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and sorry about the bad connection.
That's okay. I think we got some good info, so we appreciate it so much.